Aaron, I hate to tell you, I think you're Gilligan in this analogy, the way Carl set that one up. Welcome to San Francisco, AT&T Park, and one of the greatest rivalries the sport has to offer. The Giants hosting the Dodgers in the rubber match of a 3-game series. That's where the Knothole gang hangs out. They can watch the game from inside the right field scoreboard. What a great series it's been so far. Clayton Kershaw, 13 strikeouts in 8 strong innings Friday night. Justin Turner breaks a tie with a 9th-inning home run, and the Dodgers win 3-2. Last night, tied, going to extra innings, and Adrian Gonzalez homers in the top of the 10th to give the Dodgers the lead. Joe Panik with an RBI single to tie it. Buster Posey with an RBI single to win it. Still eating at the Dodgers. They let one get away as the Giants win last night 5-4. So that means that the Giants are still 4 games up on the Dodgers for top spot in the National League West, just where they were when the series began. After tonight, it'll be either a 3-game lead or a 5-game lead for the Giants over the Dodgers in their division. Hi, everybody, and welcome to San Francisco. Beautiful ballpark, beautiful night, unique vantage point, too. We're up here on the right field arcade, right above the right field fence where the out-of-town scoreboard is. Another edition of Sunday in the Seats, and we couldn't find a better spot than this. Also, we've got a treat tonight. We're going to get a look at the youngest player in Major League Baseball. 19-year-old Julio Urias, starting pitcher for the Dodgers, making just his 4th Major League start. Aaron, what do the Dodgers like about him, and what do they think the next step is that he has to take?
Well, guys, he has the stuff and the weapons to be a dominant pitcher in this league, and he's shown flashes of that so far. But he's got to get more pitch efficient and show better command. In his first outing against the Mets, just 2 2/3 innings. A little better the next time against the Cubs, but eventually that Cub power took him down. And in his last start, his best start, 7 strikeouts, but only was able to get through 4 innings. They want him to be more pitch efficient so that he can go deeper in the game. And Jess, it'll be interesting to see how these Giants hitters approach him.
Exactly. When you think about it from the Giants' vantage point, this is a pitcher that they haven't seen a whole lot of. Only the 3 starts, not a lot of video. So they have 2 main goals coming into this game. One is patience, and this works really great into how the Giants play. They're going to watch a lot of pitches because at a 90 to 95 pitch count, they're hoping to get him out of the game in the 4th inning and get to a bullpen, which is a huge weakness for the Dodgers. Second point is his fastball. 4-seam up in the zone. They want to lay off that pitch. It's been his best pitch early, and it really plays to the strengths of the Giants batters.
Should be a fascinating matchup here in the rubber match of this 3-game series. For more on tonight's game, let's go down to the field. Here's Buster Olney.
Dan, for 3 days last week, the San Francisco Giants played without all-star catcher Buster Posey because of nerve irritation in his left thumb, which would send zingers, to use the word of manager Bruce Bochy, through that thumb every time he made imperfect contact. Well, he rejoined the Giants lineup on Friday, and Bochy said his swing has been much better. He's following through like on Saturday when he got that walk-off hit against the Dodgers. Dan, back to you.
All right, Buster, thank you. A lot to talk about tonight. A lot of Dodger fans here in the Bay Area to root on their Dodgers all kinds of different ways, as we showed you and as you see here now, to get to this beautiful ballpark here in San Francisco. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN is presented by the new $1.49 steak flatbread sandwich at Taco Bell. It's all the steak, none of the sacrifice. And in part by Charles Schwab. Own your tomorrow. And T-Mobile has doubled its LTE coverage since last year. Stay with us. Dodgers, Giants, first pitch after this.
Go Giants. Yeah.
for Sunday Night Baseball between the Dodgers and the Giants. Packed house, beautiful night as we check out the Dodger lineup now, presented by Taco Bell.
Well, Corey Seager in that 2 spot just leads the team in every category. Batting average, those 14 home runs, 35 RBI, been the strongest and most consistent hitter in this lineup. But you move down to the 5 spot, and who's been the hottest hitter in June is Trace Thompson. Dave Roberts said since getting him in the lineup consistently, the numbers have jumped. Expect him to stay there from here on out.
And for the second Sunday night in a row, we get a look at Jake Peavy. A couple of off days for the Giants this past week, Monday and Thursday. So Peavy, they stay on rotation. He's working on 2 extra days of rest. And he starts tonight's ball game with a called strike. Peavy 2-6 with a 6.41 ERA on the season, 149 career wins. Looking to become the 6th active pitcher in the majors with 150. And a week ago, guys, although the line says 5 innings, 4 earned runs, he pitched a lot better than that against the Cardinals.
It's really been 3 of the last 4 where he started to turn his season around. And you're right, Dan, much stronger last time. Kind of came apart a little bit in the 5th, but the bullpen didn't help him out.
And Utley rolls one through the right side, a leadoff base hit.
You're going to see a lot of fastballs from Jake Peavy, about 75% versions of the fastball, that is. 2-seam, 4-seam, and the cut fastball. Very important that he's working the edges of the plate, as he likes to use both sides of the plate.
So the leadoff man aboard for the Dodgers, and here's Corey Seager. As just talked about, some big numbers, 14 home runs. Hit 5 last weekend against Atlanta, 3 on Friday, 2 on Sunday. And just 22 years of age, and certainly one of the leading candidates for Rookie of the Year as early as it is. He does have rookie eligibility, although he was up for a while last year. Even with a bag at third, Duffy well off the line. Utley a short lead at first, being held by Belt. Peavy, 35 years of age, former Cy Young Award winner, won in 2007 as a member of the Padres, has also been with the Red Sox and White Sox before coming to the Giants a few years back. Misses just outside, says home plate umpire Mike Malinsky, and the count now 2-1 on Seager. 64 degrees at game time, and the wind's been changing directions, it feels like, and depending on which flags you look at, sometimes you can't get a clear answer. It was blowing out to right. Now you can see from those flags, which are right above us, it appears to be blowing kind of towards left center, but it'll gust around and change directions frequently here.
First time to San Francisco, huh, Dan?
Well played, Booney. Hey, whatever's going to get us a fly ball tonight, that's what I'm looking for.
That's right.
Got my mitt. I got you, Dan. Don't worry.
Thank you. There's a reason you're sitting beside me. This is our vantage point. Right on top of the wall above the scoreboard out in right field. And a full count.
Peavy not striking out as many hitters as he normally has in his career. I would think this would be a situation, even with no outs, I put the game in motion and have Utley take off here.
He is running. And a high fly ball hit to left center field. Span is back with plenty of room to make the catch for out number 1 as Utley retreats to first. That'll bring up Justin Turner, who was the hitting hero of Friday night for the Dodgers. A 2-2 tie going to the top of the 9th inning. Santiago Casilla on for the Giants, and Turner untied it with a home run to left field. He gave the Dodgers a 3-2 lead, and they would win by that very same score.
And that's something Dodger fans have seen a lot over the last few years from Justin Turner. Obviously, their 3-hole hitter, become a very good hitter in his time in LA, but this year off to a slow start, but it feels like he's starting to swing the bat a lot better. For a team that struggled offensively, Yasiel Puig down, This is a guy that they need to be an impact bat in the middle of the lineup, and perhaps showing some signs of starting to come to life.
Coming off season and knee surgery, microfracture knee surgery. Dave Roberts has juggled the lineup a little bit, just trying to see if a different combination would work. Trace Thompson has actually hit third twice in the past week. But Dave Roberts, his Dodger team, they're not scoring very much. They are middle of the pack at best in most offensive categories. Now fly ball to left and a diving catch made by Mac Williamson for out number 2.
This is one of the tougher plays to make for a corner outfield because the ball is tailing towards the line. You see Williamson honing in on it. He recognizes it's going away from him. He leaves his feet full length, lays out for this. And off the bat, it looked like he was going to catch it on his feet. But like I said, it continued to tail, and smart move because, and a risky one. It gets by him. That's a possible run scored.
So 2 down in the inning now. Utley still anchored at first. And here's Adrian Gonzalez. Takes a strike on the inside corner. Gonzalez had a good night last night. An RBI double that would have been a home run in just about any other ballpark in baseball. And then a home run in the top of the 10th. At the time gave the Dodgers a 4-3 lead. But the Giants would rally and score twice in the bottom half of the inning to win it. It was the first home run for Gonzalez since the 28th of May and his 6th on the season.
And similar to Turner, a little bit of a slow start certainly by Adrian Gonzalez's standards. And a lot of that had to do with he's had some neck issues, some back issues at times that he's been able to play through, but it's sapped some of that power as you see that shift on for the Dodger slugger.
Popped up left side of the infield. Duffy backing up, battling the sun, makes the catch, and the inning is over. Leadoff single is stranded. 19-year-old Julio Urias to the mound for the Dodgers when we come back. Of age. He is the youngest player in the majors. Left-handed pitcher Julio Urias making his 4th appearance, and all of them have been starts. 4th major league start. Outstanding numbers at AAA. One of the most hyped and highly thought of prospects in all of baseball. He will face the Giants here tonight. He has had trouble economizing his pitches, so he hasn't been able to get that deep into ball games. The youngest starting pitcher since Felix Hernandez broke in with the Mariners back in 2005. Just 11 1/3 innings through 3 starts. Might go 90-95 pitches. They're hoping that that's maybe 5-6 innings. Last time out 86 pitches, Jess, only lasted 4 innings.
Yeah, and that's honestly the biggest goal for this Giants team, is to be able to get him and see him deep. And Urias is going to be able to try to stay more efficient. That's what we saw in his last start versus his first 2.
You can see the shadows are in play. Depending on where you are, you're either in shade or like some of us, you might be battling the sun a little bit. So if you at home can see where the ball is a little bit before we can,
give us a heads up.
Yeah. Send up a flare, tweet, text, or just hang on a second and we'll get there.
And if we go quiet.
Yeah. I tell you, by the 6th inning, we're going to be all over it, though. We'll be nails then.
Yeah. But this is a challenging time as you get a look at us for hitters. These next couple innings, as we expect the sun to be out, it can be really challenging, especially picking up spin in any of the secondary pitches. There's just a shadow coming at you. And that's a good look at Urias and that fastball. Up in the strike zone, down in the heart of the plate, but hitters routinely late on that at 93 miles an hour. Outstanding life through the top of the zone with the fastball.
Bernard Span steps in 1 for his last 14, hitting .258 overall on the season. A lot of left-handed bats in the lineup again for the Giants. They are heavy from the left side, in part due to some injuries. They've got 5 left-handed batters in the lineup for the 3rd game in a row, and they faced a left-handed pitcher in all 3 games. Kershaw, Kazmir, and now Urias.
And their last game before that was against David Price of the Red Sox. So 4 consecutive lefties. I mean, if any time the Giants want to face a lefty, it'd be now.
Urias misses outside with a breaking ball, and the count is full.
This is what we've seen a lot from Urias, is that unable to put a hitter away. He's now coming up on his 6 pitches and is of this at bat, and as Jess talked, you expect the Giants in their lineup to try and be very patient against Julio.
Line towards left field. Howie Kendrick racing to his left to make the catch for out number 1. An opportunity for us to show you the starting lineup for the Giants tonight, brought to you by Taco Bell.
Well, Brandon Belt in that 3-hole has really stepped it up from a discipline standpoint. One of 5 guys in Major League Baseball with more walks than strikeouts, an on-base percentage well over 400. And Buster Posey has really owned left-handed pitching this year, an OPS well over 9.
Buster Posey with a game-winning hit last night. The game-tying hit came off the bat of the man in the batter's box right now, Joe Panik. It was his RBI single that tied it in the 10th inning. They scored 2 runs on 4 consecutive hits off Kenley Jansen at the bottom of the 10th to win 5-4. And Dave Roberts, one of the first things he said to us when we walked into his office a few hours ago was, it's still kind of eating at me. The Dodgers, they play 162, but this one stung.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially you're looking up in the standings at the Giants, even though it's incredibly early, and you
0-2 pitch, bounce back to the mound and on to first, 2 down.
And you play a well-played game, and you hand the ball off to your closer, who's one of the best closers in the game. That's a game you feel like you have, and to lose that and to turn this into a rubber game now, yeah, it's one of those that you don't sleep quite as well heading into today's ball game.
Dodgers 4 games back of the Giants right now, and these 2 teams don't meet again until late August after tonight. They'll play 3 series, 9 games between the 2 teams from late August through to the end of the season. Here's Brandon Belt. 94 and down the middle for a called strike to Belt, hitting .298. He's already walked 41 times this year. Look at that on base percentage. A big step forward in that department for Belt.
A big part of that for him, and you got to think too, he's still at an age where he's continuing to develop, and that's part of development, is just slowing the game down, being able to see it longer. But mechanically he's changed where he holds his hands, allows him to have more time to be able to take pitches.
On the appeal, no swing, 2-1 the count.
And it's the small little things that sometimes with your rhythm, your timing, just to be able to track the ball and not say go too early. You want to take your hacks.
Down and away with a fastball, and Urias going to take a little walk off the back of the mound to collect his thoughts. How many pitchers are wearing single digits out there? Not many, huh?
No.
Little Mike Leake.
Leakish.
A.J. Ellis behind the plate for the Dodgers tonight. Second time of the 4 starts he's caught him. Yasmani Grandal has caught Urias twice as well. Out of play, and the count is full.
I think it's been since the 1950s for the Dodgers since they've had a pitcher wearing a single-digit jersey. It's a Vin Scullyism he was talking about this week.
Blake Kershaw, magnificent night again on Friday. 8 very strong innings, at times dominant innings, and there's a dominant fastball at 95 by Urias to strike out Belt as the Giants go in order in the bottom of the first. No score at the end of one, and a very good start for the teenager Urias for the Dodgers tonight. Park, the home of the Giants. No scores. We go to the top of the second here on Sunday Night Baseball. Jake Peavy to face Trace Thompson, who looks at a strike. Thompson really opening up some eyes. He has gotten a chance to play more. Unfortunately for the Dodgers, they've had a lot of injuries. Andre Ethier out with a broken bone in his leg, not expected to back till the second half of the year at least. Yasiel Puig is now on the DL with a hamstring injury. So Thompson getting a chance to play pretty much on an everyday basis and playing well. He's got 10 home runs already on the season and an OPS over 900. And Dave Roberts says even when other guys start coming back, Thompson is squarely in the mix.
As you should be.
Yeah, you got the feeling early on in talking to Dave Roberts that he was very cautious in running him out there every day, and they were slow to just continue to acclimate him to the lineup. But the fact is, especially with a struggling offense, he's absolutely kicked his way into the middle of this order, and there's no way you can afford to take him out now, especially when you can see the adjustments he's made to allow him to now succeed at the major league level. Very short swing for a big guy.
At one point it looked like he would get most of his at-bats against lefties, but Roberts specifically pointed out how strong the at-bats have been against righties. So when Puig comes back, you could see Thompson maybe going over playing a lot of left field, and then they work Howie Kendrick in a little left, a little third, a little second. Kendrick's been more of a utility guy. He's played 4 different positions this year. Chopper to short. Brandon Crawford. Trace Thompson also getting in the Sunday in the seat spirit of things, tossing us a baseball before the last inning.
Yes.
Jess, did you call that?
You know, I didn't, so I'm surprised you didn't elbow me in the side to try to get that. I saw you think about it.
But she's the center fielder. She has right of way.
Yeah,
right? She's the
you
boss.
guys should just know if it's anywhere near.
Hey, we're on the corners for a reason.
I got a little excited. I was a little worried I was going to go over because I was going to catch it no matter where it was.
We don't want that.
I'm hoping one of you guys would have caught me, but
I'm hoping one of us would have too. Here's Jock Peterson.
We got the first emotional outburst from Jake Peavy of the night. Wasn't happy with that fastball, kind of overthrew it up and away. Controlling those emotions, very important for the fiery Peavy.
Peterson hitting .221 on the season, 8 home runs. Numbers fairly similar to last year's. Actually, his walk rate is down, and he's striking out a little bit less often as well. Remember, he had a huge power first half last year, was in the home run derby, but then the numbers really fell off in the second half of the season. Shift on for the Giants. Brandon Crawford over on the right side of the bag. And a 3-0 strike, 3-1. It's a good defensive team. All homegrown talent on the infield for the Giants. Another grunt by Peavy, and it's fouled back, a full count.
there's one thing that will never change with Jock Peterson, and he knows how to get his hacks in. He will not, there is no 80%. And even right now with 2 strikes, he doesn't necessarily have that 2-strike ability, just put the ball the other way swing. He's swinging every time, 100%.
3-2. Got it. A slider for the first strikeout of the night for Peavy. Well, you've seen a lot of the beautiful parts here of this great ballpark, AT&T Park. Facts about AT&T Park: it opened back in 2000. Hard to believe it's been that long. The address is 24 Willie Mays Plaza. The wall we're sitting above is 24 feet high. 24 palm trees in the plaza. Of course, all in honor of one of the game's all-time great players, Willie Mays. There have been so many great players who have worn the Giants uniform, whether it was in New York or in San Francisco. And boy, when they built this place, they got it right. We walked around. We hopped a boat a little bit earlier today to get over here. And again, if you're a bucket list, if you're a baseball fan and a bucket list kind of person,
Absolutely.
this is it. This has got to be right at the top of the list.
From everything to the Coca-Cola slide, you can go down.
Let us know how that goes. I got McCovey Cove covered. You've got the slide.
What do you got,
What do you got, Booney?
Well, if you go into the Cove, I've got play-by-play duties.
Well, maybe we should rethink this.
Yeah, you
might want to get a boss on the phone.
Right.
This was kind of a unilateral decision we made. There's some doubt whether I could clear the 24 feet of concourse out there to get to the Cove. Another play for Crawford. And a 3-up, 3-down inning in the top of the second. Well, the Dodgers and Giants have been playing for a long time. You go back to the 19th century, they were known as the Brooklyn Bridegrooms and the New York Gothams. A lot has changed since then. The first game was won by Brooklyn at Washington Park by a score of 7-3. Of course, times changed and they changed coast. The Giants and Dodgers both coming west to California before the 1958 season. And the rivalry awfully good even on this side of the country as well. They have met more than 2,400 times. The Giants holding a very slight edge in the head-to-head rivalry. You will always see a good number of Dodger fans here in San Francisco. You will always see a good number of Giant fans in Los Angeles. They don't like each other very much. They are 1-2 in the division this year. They seem to be 1-2 a lot. Right now it's the Giants with the lead, and the Giants really have the hammer because they can say they've won 3 World Championships, the World Series championships in the last 6 years. The Dodgers actually have won the National League West each of the last 3 seasons. I think a lot of people kind of overlook that fact because the Giants have had the postseason success, but the Dodgers are the 3-time defending NL West champs. Ball is outside as Buster Posey takes ball 1. And it is an even year, so a lot of Giants fans would tell you that means they're due, having won it in 2010, 12, and 14. Last time the Dodgers won the World Series was back in 1988.
And guys, I actually had a player say to me this year in the Dodgers, you know what? I'm really sick of Kirk Gibson highlights on our board.
They want some new highlights.
Been a while. That is definitely on the reel. Growing up in LA in the 80s.
The 2-2 to Posey.
This is a great example of Urias where he has struggled at times in his first few starts. He's gotten to a lot of 2-strike counts, just having a hard time putting guys away. We've already seen now 2 of the first 4 hitters where he's gotten ahead and now run the count to 3-2, driving that pitch count up, just making it a little harder on himself.
Posey, a swing and a miss, and loses the bat, and for the second night in a row he loses the bat and it gets stuck in the netting. Now last night's was stuck so high that between innings they had to bring a ladder out and take it down, but something that you don't think you'll ever see just happened twice in 2 nights to the same guy.
Shows you how loose the bat is in his hands and how hard he swings.
Here's a look at that slider from that first base side, and a little hydroplane over there. Hello.
Here's Matt Duffy. Duffy, who had a great rookie season a year ago, runner-up for National League Rookie of the Year award to Chris Bryant of the Cubs. Not having the same kind of success so far this year, although the last couple of days have been better. He homered off Clayton Kershaw Friday night. Drove in a couple of runs last night. Jess, we had a chance to talk to him yesterday, and he thought a little bit of it was, you know, maybe putting a little more pressure on himself, trying to live up to last year and be even better this year. Talked about jumping at the ball and trying to relax a little bit more in the batter's box. Maybe a little less is more. Up the middle of base hit.
And that's exactly what you're seeing from his swing, because exactly that, Dan. You start to see him get anxious. It's one of the hardest things in baseball too, because when the more you want it, the more pressure you put on yourself, that's when your swing gets bigger. And for Matt Duffy, his game is this: simplicity. Look at how little movement there is, how direct his hands go to the ball. It is a very efficient swing, and when he tries to make more of it, that's when he misses. That's when he gets the big strikeouts. Something very easier said than done, but he's coming around in a big way these last couple weeks.
And I think that's why Bruce Bochy has stuck with him in the middle of the order. Yes, they've had some injuries, but over time, Bruce Bochy and this staff feels like and knows that that swing is not going to struggle for long.
Close play at first. A quick pickoff move from Urias. Duffy is a threat. He's 7 out of 10 on the season. And now Gonzalez is going to walk the ball back to the mound with something to say to his young pitcher. Urias, again, just 19 years of age, and let's see how good he is at containing the running game. Not nearly the factor, of course, it was a generation ago in a baseball.
No, it's not. It's not a great move to first base. But as a lefty, I mean, it can be a weapon if you do have a great move, but just varying your looks can go a long way in controlling that game.
Brandon Crawford, his first at bat of the night, getting 262, 6 home runs on the season.
Speaking of a player that grew up knowing how to dislike the Dodgers, not growing up very far from here.
The breaking ball is popped up. It will be neither one of them. Turner and Seager both trying to battle the sun. Both looked at each other, and the ball drops untouched.
The only thing that can happen here sometimes, because it looks like Justin Turner's camped, and Corey Seager probably comes over and says something to him like, "You're okay." And as the third baseman, sometimes you mistake that, because shortstop has priority, as calling you off. So sometimes it's not good if a shortstop says anything to you. But I guarantee you, Corey said, "You're all right, you're all right." That kind of spooks Turner to get out of the way. And now you have this happen.
And the way Turner raised his hands makes it seem like he might have heard something. You can see the sun is a factor for both of them. The sun is eventually going to set behind the stands, behind home plate, a little bit on the first base side. So right now, for the third baseman and the shortstop, it is an issue. And you always take the sunglasses out, but you don't always put them on.
Yeah, but that's something you determine before the inning too.
Yeah.
And you'll use your glove and kind of look up and see where the sun. So actually, sometimes it doesn't make sense to have the sunglasses on. A lot of times it's more for the background that you're trying to create. So I'm sure before that he determined, okay, I know where the sun is, I can use my glove. And I think this was more not so much him losing into the sun as it was a communication issue between him and Seager. Yeah, he had it all the way.
So a break for the Giants. It has scored a base hit for Crawford. First and second, one out for Mac Williamson. Williamson in the big leagues right now with the Giants because of injuries. Hunter Pence, who we saw in the clubhouse earlier today, had hamstring surgery, expected to be out upwards of 2 months. And Angel Pagan is still on the DL with a hamstring injury. Could be back midweek for Bruce Bochy. So right now, Gregor Blanco's playing every day, and either Jarrett Parker or Mac Williamson also in the lineup in the outfield for the Giants. A broken bat number back towards the mound. Urias spins, fires, and gets him for out number 2.
This is a really nice play by Urias. He just has the pop-up drop for a base hit, finds himself in his first jam in this game. And now he breaks a bat, and this is not an easy play to his right. He has the wherewithal to go pick it up and know that, hey, I may have a play at third base. As soon as he realizes there's not somebody there and he kind of bobbles, he has the wherewithal and the poise to reset himself and know I'm going to have plenty of time. And that's a pretty athletic play there from the 19-year-old. Could have been disaster as he bobbled, stays within himself.
And throws off his, I mean, he's leaning back on his heels.
So second and third, 2 down, and here's Gregor Blanco, the right fielder tonight. 0 for his last 22, 236 on the season. Both of these teams have been struggling offensively the last couple of weeks. They have the lowest batting averages in baseball, the 2 lowest team batting averages in baseball over the last couple of weeks. Both dealing with injuries, but both still 1-2 in their division. The Giants 4 games up on the Dodgers.
This is one of those situations where you have the pitcher on deck and you really want him, especially early in the game, you want that pitcher leading off the next inning. But what complicates it is 2 runners now in scoring position. So you've got to be fine. You know you've got a hitter that comes in, as you mentioned, struggling a little bit, but you do have a base open. Now that you're ahead in the count, though, you want to get him out, but you've got to be fine with your command, something that has been a little bit of an issue for Urias in his first few starts.
Ahead of Blanco 0-2. Upstairs with a fastball. Fastball is usually around 93, 94. He's a 4-pitch pitcher. Slider, curveball, changeup as well. The slider is the newest addition to the arsenal.
And I think it will become his ultimate weapon. When we're looking at Julio in 3, 4, 5 years from now, I think that slider will be his biggest weapon and his biggest strikeout pitch.
Fastball sent to left field, but Howie Kendrick is there, and Urias gets out of it. The Giants leave a couple of men on in the bottom of the second. Hey, here's what's coming up on the calendar this week on the ESPN family of networks. Tomorrow night, the team with the best record of baseball, the Cubs, taking on the Nationals. On Monday Night Baseball, Wednesday night, you'll see the Orioles and Red Sox, two of the heavyweights in the American League East. And then 1 week from tonight, we will be at Wrigley Field, our third and final installment of Sunday from the Seats, as the Pittsburgh Pirates provide the opposition. A.J. Ellis leads off the third for the Dodgers. Scoreless game here in San Francisco. Dan Shulman, Jessica Mendoza, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney, glad you're with us. Jake Peavy on the mound for the Giants. Gave up a leadoff base hit to Chase Utley. Has retired 6 in a row since. Ellis will be followed by Urias, the pitcher, and then back to the top of the order for Utley. Shallow center field. Span is there. Urias coming to the plate. Yesterday we asked him what it means to him to pitch in this rivalry.
No, pues la verdad no me tienen que decir nada, no, ya ayer lo viví en vivo porque lo había visto en televisión y pues en internet todo la tiradera como se llama, no. Y pues la verdad que se siente muy bonito ya estando aquí adentro aquí del estadio. La verdad se siente muy diferente y uno siente la rivalidad.
Oh, he seems older than 19, doesn't he?
He does, and there's been a lot of talk about his first 3 starts being the Mets in New York, at the Cubs, then he had the Rockies, and now at the Giants. So he's gotten a tough draw right out of the gate. I love it because it shows you what they think of him, and they know that no matter what happens, emotionally, from a maturity standpoint, he can absolutely handle it, but he's got all the equipment to be able to succeed at it, which I like him throwing him right into the fire.
Well, you can't talk about a young pitcher without wondering what is the number, what is the innings limit for Julio Urias. Let's bring Buster in if we can after this next pitch. This is his 4th start. He was pitching extremely well down at AAA as he swings and misses. Posey down to first for out number 2. Buster, what do you know or hear about how they're going to use Urias over the next couple of months?
Yeah, and you're right, because of what happened with Steven Strasburg. No team is now going to announce an innings limit anymore. Generally speaking, given his innings in the past, he's going to be about 120 innings before the Dodgers think about shutting him down. So he's got about 70 innings left. But the way they're using him now is essentially as a placeholder until they get some of their injured pitchers back, whether it's Brandon McCarthy or Hyunjin Ryu, because they feel like he gives them the best chance to be competitive. Another guy actually that they're thinking about, Frankie Montas, who is a pitcher they got in that 3-team trade they made involving the White Sox and the Reds during the offseason. They've been incredibly impressed with him. Last start, guys, he was clocked as high as 100 miles per hour. 4 innings, no walks, 6 strikeouts in AAA.
So they've got a lot of options. They don't have as many healthy options as they would like, although Brandon McCarthy threw yesterday on rehab, went 2 innings. Hyunjin Ryu threw for the first time on rehab today, but they're still at least 2 to 3 weeks away. So it looks like Urias, if things go well, figures to get maybe 4 or 5 more starts before any decisions have to be made.
And I totally agree with it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think Ross Stripling started the year with the team knowing that he's going to have an innings limit. As we look at the injured Dodgers, all expected to return at some point in the season. But hey, if you feel like you've got a guy that's capable of winning ball games while you can buy time before those guys get back, so what if you use their innings up now? Now is the time to do it, to try and keep the Dodgers in this race, and then maybe at some point later in the year, maybe Urias becomes an option for you out of the pen as you're trying to preserve innings.
First year manager Dave Roberts moving the pieces around in the lineup and on the pitching staff. A lot of coming and going for this Dodgers team, because they opened the season with 10 players on the disabled list, and they haven't gotten a whole lot healthier since.
Well, and that was the whole thing coming into the season, was the depth, and losing Zach Greinke but replacing it with so many pitchers behind him. But they've kind of burned through a lot of those options, and now being able to come and bring these young guys up from AAA. And I love that Urias is getting the opportunity to go consecutively, to have consecutive starts, so he can improve and not go down to AAA and have 2 to 3 weeks between starts in the bigs.
Let's face it, too. Clayton Kershaw is basically propping up this team right now with how he's pitching. They're 12-1 in his starts. They're 8 games under 500 when anybody else starts.
And Utley rips one into right field. He's 2 for 2. So he has been the nemesis for Jake Peavy so far tonight. Peavy had retired 8 in a row between the 2 Utley base hits. Now Corey Seager is 22 years of age, as we mentioned. Big brother Kyle, outstanding player with the Seattle Mariners. And Seager is a guy, if you ask anybody in baseball, you know, give me your top 5 young players, he's going to find his way onto that list a lot. They love the poise, they love the bat.
It's amazing how big he is when you're down there and just standing up next to him. Just a big lower half, tall. But I think all the necessary equipment to be able to stay at shortstop, if that's the position the Dodgers to keep him at. Watching him play regularly and seeing how he moves around out at shortstop, coupled with that big bat, this is a star player that will be in the middle of this lineup for a long time.
6'4", 215, 14 home runs already on the season. Utley the lead with 2 down, and Seager takes inside.
For being such a young hitter, he does not have consistent holes, and that's what I've been most impressed with. You've heard about the poise, the maturity. I see the maturity within at bats, the fact that he might miss a pitch and then kind of collect himself and knows exactly what's coming and able to adjust right within the at bat, not wait 2 days or wait 2 at bats.
Right at the knees for a called strike, 1-2.
And keep an eye out here possibly for Peavy. The pitch before, he threw a cut fastball that he started on the inside part of the plate and broke it off the plate in, and Seager took it. So let's see if he starts the same plane and runs the 2-seamer and tries to run it back over the inside corner, trying to freeze Seager. Like, okay, you're going to take that pitch? Let me start it there and run it back to the corner.
He tried to run it back, but he left it over the middle of the plate. Didn't start it far enough inside with that 2-seamer, so the count remains 1-2.
Which is why Seager wasn't fooled on it.
Yep.
He can throw it at his front hip, get him to freeze and have it run back over.
You can see all the whiteout on the fingers of Buster Posey. Jake Peavy notorious for not having the greatest vision in the world, so Posey trying to give him every opportunity. This is in Posey's best interest to know what the sign is. You can see Posey wanted that fastball elevated. Peavy did not get it up above the zone, but he will still get the out as Duffy tracks it down the line, and the inning is over. No runs, a base hit, and a man left. Urias back to the mound when we come back. We'll speak with former Dodger and ESPN Deportes Ismael Valdez next half inning. Back for the bottom of the third here in San Francisco. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. No score between the Dodgers and the Giants. 19-year-old Julio Urias on the mound for LA. Jake Peavy leads off the inning for the Giants. He takes low ball 2. After Peavy, back to the top of the order for Span and Panic. Peavy's career numbers at 169, 4 for 18 so far this year, as he takes at the knees 2-1. Urias has given up 2 hits, although one was a ball, a pop-up that fell between 2 fielders. Should have been caught in the first 2 innings. He has not walked a batter. He struck out 2. Let's bring it back from our ESPN studios, from ESPN Deportes, Ishmael Valdez, who, like Urias, hails from Mexico, and like Urias, began his career with the LA Dodgers. Ishmael, thanks for joining us tonight. We are well. As a swing and a miss, Peavy strikes out. Tell us what you like about Urias.
When you talk about that process, not only on the field but off the field, the pressures that you can put on yourself being that young, having so much family and support and pressure, what have you seen from him and how he's handled that throughout the first 4 starts?
Ishmael, obviously hailing from Mexico and being a great Dodger pitcher yourself, you can certainly relate to what Julio's going through. What is some of the advice you have given him or would give him?
How good do you think the talent is, Ishmael? How much do you like his stuff? Certainly appears to have a bright future. Ishmael, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. Ishmael Valdez, who broke in as a Dodger, and he was only 20, as he says, when he broke in. But Urias, just 19, the first teenager to start a game in the big league since Felix Hernandez did it back in 2005. 1-1 the count on Joe Panic with a runner at first and 1 out. And Panic swings through a high fastball. First start was at Citi Field against the Mets, and Urias gave up 3 earned runs and 2 2/3, walked 4 through 81 pitches. Second start was at Wrigley. He went 5 innings, gave up 6 runs, 5 earned on 8 hits, only walked 1 through 79 pitches. Last start was at Dodger Stadium against Colorado, 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, but a lot of foul balls, a lot of deep counts, so 86 pitches in 4 innings. He can go 90 to 95, we are told today. He's at 48 right now through 2 1/3. And a swing and a miss to strike out Panic.
We talk about the tools that Julio Urias has. You're going to see the fastball with the late life, whether it's down in the zone, middle of the zone, or up in the zone. He's going to be able to move it all around and even off the plate to get weak contact. It's the fastball that's been his best pitch, and because you see the results, it's the late life that he has on it. It might show 94, 95, but it looks 96 to 98 with the results.
I think as he continues to gain experience and gain command at the big league level, I think we'll see him use the bottom of the zone more so than we have in the his first 3, now four outings, and that will really help set up his secondary pitch and that slider. And I think you're going to see a guy that routinely strikes out a lot of batters time after time.
A lot of swings and misses with his fastball up in the zone tonight.
And that's a pitch, if I'm in that batter's box, I'm not even swinging at because of that late life. We haven't even seen it fouled off. When it's up in the zone letters at 94, it's been the hardest pitch to hit.
Span draws a throw at first. Urias with 4 strikeouts tonight, now through 2 2/3. Another swing and a miss.
You know, that's now 52 pitches. He's a 4-pitch guy. Fastball, slider, curveball, and changeup. I don't think we've seen a changeup from him. Now, obviously, the Giants roll out more lefties than he's normally going to face, so you're not inclined to see as many lefty-on-lefty changeups. But primarily tonight, fastball and breaking ball. And the fastball has been his best pitch.
And staying with it as Belt fouls it back. Well, if you go back to the early 1980s, another young left-hander from Mexico took Los Angeles by storm. Fernando Valenzuela broke in as a reliever in 1980 as a teenager. 1981 became a starter and won the Cy Young Award. Strike-shortened season, he was magnificent. Fernando Mania was a term that every Dodgers fan became familiar with. That might have been the changeup right there, and a swing and a miss by Belt. That'll end the inning. 5 strikeouts through 3 for Julio Urias. No score at the end of 3. Here at AT&T Park, one of the many great spots in this ballpark. you can watch the game from. No score going to the top of the fourth. Between innings, Buster Olney with Bruce Bochy.
Bruce, what are your first impressions of Julio Urias and your approach that your hitters are taking against him?
Well, yeah, he's done well. You know, he's got good velocity. He's got good breaking ball, and it's a little tough to see right now. But he's got life on that fastball, and we're having a hard time catching up with it. I do have a lot of left-handed bats in there, and that's it's not an easy chore going against a guy like this with that velocity in the twilight. But we haven't seen him before, so hopefully he turns around here soon.
Jake Peavy, a week off. What are you seeing in him tonight?
Jay looks good. He's got a good delivery going, changing speeds, hitting the spots. This is Jake when he's going well. He's not trying to power his way through these guys.
Coach, thanks.
Both pitchers have been good, and as a result, no score here. Fourth inning. Turner, Gonzalez, and Thompson. 3-4-5 in the Dodger lineup against Jake Peavy. 2 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts through 3. Both hits belong to Chase Utley.
See a little bit of that smoke and mirrors that Jake Peavy will do so well, meaning that he'll go with his cutter and then his 2-seam off of it. You think about it being in that same area over the plate, but one time it'll break left, the next time it'll break right, and that's really his bread and butter. A lot of hitters, they see it move one way and he can change it up, have it move the next pitch.
And that's where Buster Posey comes into play, where he and Jake Peavy both try and read the hitters. So it's like if the discipline is telling you to lay off a particular pitch, then I can work that other one back to the same location, whether it's running it back or cutting it.
2-2 on the way. Fastball's outside, a full count.
And that's what they tried to do right there. He went cutter that he started on the outside corner that broke off. He took it, so they said, all right, I'll move it out a little further and try and run it back to the corner. Couldn't quite do it.
Fastball grounded up the middle, backhanded by Panic, and on to first for out number 1. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. See car insurance in a whole new light. And Leidenkugel's Summer Shandy. People on some boats of all descriptions out behind us in McCovey Cove, hoping for a splash hit. Brandon Belt had a splash hit a few days back for the Giants, the first since 2014. First time since late in the 2014 season, when it was also Belt, when a Giant hit one into McCovey Cove. Now 69 splash hits have been hit in the history of this ballpark, which opened back in 2000. And again, the splash hits, the ones they track here, they only count the Giants ones. So 69 have been hit by the Giants.
And do we have it officially on record that you will be jumping into that cove if a ball goes out there? I just want to put it out there.
I got to clear a 24-foot little porch down there. I'm happy to try. There's Brandon Bell, and a guy jumps in on June the 8th. Took him a while to get over to the ladder and climb out. Barry Bonds has 35 of the 69 splash hits that have been hit in this ballpark. Brandon Bell has 5.
It'd be fun to be a lefty in a Giants uniform and having that as your target.
Somebody tried to make us believe that he went oppo splash at the meeting today, but he was just fooling.
He had us for a minute, though.
A guy can dream, can't he?
Yeah. I saw a couple people lift up their pen or go to their laptops, and then
we got to pull video for this.
that
was it
guy right there.
me?
Flex for us, Aaron. Let's see what you got.
What's your oppo?
2-2 to Adrian Gonzalez. There for strike 3 call. The backdoor cutter on the outside corner, strikeout number 3 for Peavy.
Great job of starting this ball off the plate away and just cutting it back to that outside corner, down and away. An absolute perfect pitch, locking up a great hitter.
So 2 down in the inning, and here's Trace Thompson. Grounded out his first time up. His brother Clay was in the house last night. Of course, Clay, the Golden State Warriors, are 1 win away from an NBA championship. They'll be playing tomorrow night just on the other side of the bay at Oracle Arena. The Warriors up 3-1 on Cleveland. And Thompson, although he plays in the Bay Area and of course should root for the Giants, his brother plays for the Dodgers. So he came here in a Dodger cap last night, was put up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I was going to say that didn't go over well.
No. And so now they got to decide, do we still love him because he's a Warrior? Or are we going to get on his case because he's wearing a Dodger cap? And they got on his case.
The Warriors going to have to try and close it out without Draymond Green. That's tomorrow. Right. Suspended for Game 5.
Was assessed a flagrant one today, put him over the limit for the playoffs. So one of their most valuable players will not be on the court tomorrow night. Pretty good time to be a Bay Area sports fan right about now.
Man.
San Jose Sharks trying to force a 7th game of the Stanley Cup final.
There's a little extra swagger in the Giant fans walking around this stadium right now.
This is earlier today. There's Clay. Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and the Warriors trying to end it in 5. Can they do it at home tomorrow night? You can see it on ABC tomorrow night. The tip just after 9 o'clock Eastern time. Ground ball to short. Crawford the play. It's another 3-up, 3-down inning. No score going to bottom 4 here in San Francisco. Fourth between innings, Buster Olney with Dodger manager Dave Roberts.
Dave, this is the 4th start for Urias. In what ways has he gotten better from start 1 to tonight?
I just think, you know, the game's starting to slow down a little bit right now. He's getting head hitters and throwing his off speed. Fastball has life, and you know, he's got some punch out. So I think that he's getting more and more comfortable. So you got the Mets, Cubs, Rockies at home, and then now the Giants. So he's doing well.
I was going to ask you that. His first start at Citi Field, 2nd start at Wrigley Field, 3rd start here against the Giants. What made you comfortable that he would be able to do that?
I just think that we just trust Julio, the makeup, the character, and you know, there's really no soft landing in the big leagues, and every team's good, you know, and can hit if you don't execute. So yeah, we just trust him, and obviously the skill set plays.
Dave, thanks.
Buster Posey leading off the bottom of the 4th. Peterson deals with the sun and makes the catch, 1 down.
Well, let's take a look at that skill set and the repertoire for Julio Urias. Fastball, we've seen low mid-90s, and the slider that he has. Buster Posey out in front of the big slow curveball at 77, a swing and a miss, and the first changeup of the night. He got a strikeout of Brandon Belt, and that last pitch for the first out of this inning was a changeup to Buster Posey. So a couple now as he's gotten over 50 pitches.
Curveball in for a strike to Matt Duffy. 75 miles an hour on that pitch.
That tells me right there, what Dave just told Buster, how comfortable he looks. And that's something, yes, we're now in the 4th inning, but he is definitely, when you flip in a curveball first pitch, he starts throwing his 4th pitch, his changeup, now more often. You want to see a major league curveball? There you go. 0-0.
And what I've liked about that pitch is it feels like a pitch that he can flip in for a strike that he has really good feel for. And that's not a pitch a hitter's going to offer out very often on a first pitch, or if he gets behind in the count. 2-0, I've seen him a couple times in his first few starts just flip that curveball in there to get himself back into the count. He's now up to 60 on the evening.
Could go up to 90, maybe as high as 95. We were told before the game, through 86 his last time out. Ground ball left side, and Turner boots it.
Well, Turner does everything right on this play. He just doesn't finish it off. I like how he closes on it. He goes after it with one hand to create a better hop for him. He reaches to the short hop. That's just a play he simply kicks. That's a fairly routine play because of the good footwork, but doesn't finish off the execution of it. E5.
So a base runner with 1 out for the Giants here in the bottom of the 4th, and the batter will be Brandon Crawford, who reached on a base at his first time up. It was a pop-up that fell between Turner and Seager. When it appeared, Aaron, as you said at the time, you thought Seager might have said something to Turner, and Turner thought he was calling him off.
Yep, I think he probably simply said, "You're all right." And sometimes, I know personally it's happened where I've gotten spooked by that and thought maybe the shortstop was calling me off or something, and you get out of there and it turns into a big mistake.
We mentioned Urias is the first teenager to start a game since Felix Hernandez in 2005. If you go back further, before that, you have to go back to 1991. Todd Van Poppel, who started 1 game in the majors as a teenager. So only 3 guys in the last 25 years have made a start. And now he picks off Duffy. And the tag applied, says second base ump DJ Rayburn. So that is out number 2.
Well, we talked earlier that Urias not known for a very strong move, and Duffy here, who's got 7 stolen bases on the season, so a guy that will run. Looks like he just probably guessed wrong. Went first move. Actually, no. I'm not even positive he was going there. He just looked like maybe he was starting into his secondary lead. And he got had by Urias there.
Now the slider misses outside. 2-1 the count on Brandon Crawford. This is the guy every team would ask about when they wanted to make a deal with the Dodgers. This is the guy, along with Seager. These 2 guys the Dodgers said we're absolutely not giving them up, no matter what the deal is.
And one of those opportunities actually was with the Tampa Bay Rays, who were marketing David Price, and the then Rays general manager asked for Urias in return. And of course, Andrew Friedman now runs baseball operations for the Dodgers. Happy that trade didn't happen.
Is he ever? Swing and a miss, and the inning is over. 6 strikeouts through 4 shutout innings for Julio Urias. Jessica Mendoza with Brandon Crawford when we come back.
This is something that you take so much pride in, is your defense. If you're thinking about the one part of your D, the craft that you work on, what's a drill that you really hone in on?
I mean, first of all, defense has always been just a passion of mine. I've always loved playing defense. Even in like high school, I liked taking ground balls as much as I liked taking batting practice. But when it comes to drills, usually in spring training, we'll work on the basics and just getting your feet and hands working together at the same time. And getting your feet set to throw to first base as quick as you can.
You like to have fun with it though too. Like, I mean, there's some, like, you can show off some serious skills. So I want you to show like one of the moves that you'll make. Maybe not so much in game, but you have fun with it in practice too.
All right.
I love it. All right, just a kid from the Bay. You're wearing the shirt. You grew up Giants fan. I even got a picture of you and visor saying, you know, I hate the Dodgers. Tell me a little bit about this rivalry, how deep it goes for you, especially growing up in the Bay.
Oh yeah, growing up in the Bay Area, being a Giants fan, I wasn't allowed to like the Dodgers. That was one of the first things I learned, I think, as a Giants fan, is that you have to hate the Dodgers. So I think now it's not as big to me personally as a player. Obviously it is as a fan, and then obviously it still runs deep with these guys and us being some of the top teams in the division for years, and you know, we always want to beat those teams.
And how much does it resonate to you for you? I mean, obviously you still wear the shirts, like just knowing that since a young age, like this has been your team, and I know it's been a while, but still, do you take moments to kind of take it in?
For sure. I mean, I'm living the dream. This is what I wanted to do as a kid, was play shortstop for the Giants, and living the dream every day. It's pretty awesome. Living
the dream. I love it with the cool moves. I love it. Thanks, Brandon.
No problem.
Brandon Crawford, born in Mountain View, California, about 40 miles south of here. Grew up in Pleasanton, California, and a lifelong Giants fan.
How cool was the slow-mo between the legs, like coming up the middle to second base? You know, I was talking to Joe Panic. He's like, man, seriously, he's going to do that to me one time in a game, and I'm just going to freak out. They have a lot of fun out there, and he plays some serious D.
And Aaron, I've heard you say 100 times you think this guy's about as good as it gets in baseball defensively.
I love watching him play shortstop. He makes all the routine plays, yes. Dodgers put on a little hit and run there. Peterson off on the pitch, and no one thinking they're getting a two-seam fastball. You see Kendrick trying inside out that ball, but just hit it foul. But yeah, the way Brandon Crawford, for not being a fast guy, how quick he moves at shortstop, and the ability to run fast in short spurts in a fielding position is a very unique talent, and he absolutely has it. Reminds me a lot of, I played with a guy, Pokey Reese, and he was a faster guy, but what was remarkable to me about Pokey is how he could move low to the ground in a fielding position and cover a lot of ground. Brandon Crawford does that at shortstop.
Leadoff man aboard for the Dodgers in a scoreless game here in the 5th inning. And Howie Kendrick fouls it off. The count is 1-2.
He's going to get us one. He's inching closer and closer each foul ball.
It just .220 on the season. This is a guy you expect to see up at 280, 290 year after year.
I don't think he's ever hit below 285 in his big league career, and I think that's one of those reasons that gives you good hope for this Dodger team, because you know that's got to correct more towards the norm as the season unfolds and as he gets more comfortable with regular bats in the outfield.
Yeah, because you look at Howie Kendrick, you look at Justin Turner, you look at Adrian Gonzalez, and they are well below what their average is. So I think if you are a Dodger fan, you know they're going to come closer to the median. You know that they are going to get hot at some point. Howie Kendrick is not a 220 hitter, and that's going to change. Adrian Gonzalez, I mean, he's going to be more consistent. It's still early in the season where you know those numbers are going to turn.
The X factor in all this could be Yasiel Puig. What is he going to be? And when he comes back from injury, is he going to be able to make the necessary adjustments that allow him to be an impact player, especially offensively?
Hasn't he been the X factor for the last 2 or 3 years on this team?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But they're hoping that some of the adjustments they want him to make will stick and allow him to be a much more consistent offensive performer when he does come back.
Peterson running, and it's down and away, ball 4. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you have come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. A look from underneath the Coke bottle out beyond the left field stands here at AT&T Park. The Dodgers threatening. Here with the runners at first and second. Nobody out of the 5th inning. The #8 hitter, A.J. Ellis, is up, and he'll take a strike. Pitcher Julio Urias is due next. And he does come out into the on-deck circle. For what that's worth. Outside again with the slider, and it's a ball and a strike on Ellis, who hit a fly ball to center field his first time up. Pretty much our view. We're up above the scoreboard here. The 24-foot high wall in right field. We're just about 15 feet into fair territory down the right field line. Ellis hits a ground ball to second. Crawford across the bag for one, and seamlessly on to first for the 4-6-3 double play. Smooth.
Little cut fastball in the heart of the plate. Pretty good swing that A.J. Ellis puts on. He hits it firmly, but right at panic, and not a good runner. He just makes sure he secures that, gets the feed to Mr. Crawford in plenty of time, and he comes flying across that bag, what turns out to be an easy double play, and perhaps get Peavy out of trouble here in the 5th.
Urias with a fly ball fairly deep to left field, but Williamson there, and the inning is over. It started with 2 on, nobody out. Peavy gets out of it. America, Tuesday at 9 Eastern on ESPN. Part 2 moves on to address the escalating racial tensions in Los Angeles as O.J. crafts a seemingly perfect life in the nearby suburbs of Brentwood. If you missed Part 1, it will re-air at 7 Eastern on Tuesday night. Also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. We go to the bottom of the 5th as we move towards the evening here in the Bay Area. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN from AT&T Park with Aaron Boone, Jessica Mendoza, Buster Olney. I'm Dan Schulman. No score. Jake Peavy, 5 shutout innings for the Giants. And Julio Urias, 4 shutout innings so far for the Dodgers. The 19-year-old looking very strong and caught the attention, Aaron, of another guy who was a phenom at 19.
Yeah, I'd say Doc Gooden took the baseball world by storm and the Big Apple by storm. As he dominated with the Mets in the mid-'80s when he first got called up and then ultimately led them to a championship. He tweeted at me and wanted me to make sure we knew that.
Don't forget about the Doc. Come on.
No, we won't forget you, Doc.
17-9 with a 2.60 ERA as a 19-year-old.
How about leading the league in strikeouts at 276?
He was special.
There's that pitch. Urias threw the changeup just off the plate away. And Buster touched on this. The strike zone in the minor leagues a little more side to side, wider, not so much north and south.
There's a ball yanked to left field and caught by Kendrick. Of course, a lifelong infielder getting more and more accustomed to the outfield this year. Made a good play.
Well, this is such a hard ball to read because it's a line drive right at Howie Kendrick. But the key for him is the jump and the athleticism at the end. His route first off wasn't the most direct. He didn't go straight back at it, but because he's able to then jump up when he recognizes it's over his head, just shows the athlete that Howie Kendrick and the multitude of positions he can play well. You got to think this is a second baseman who has not played the outfield, and this is the Dodgers in a nutshell. A variety of guys that can make that catch, which should have been a double after the misread, and he recovered well.
Looks like second time through the order that Urias is going more to the breaking stuff, more to the off-speed pitches. Really lived on the fastball first time through and lived on it well. But we're seeing sliders, curveballs, and even the odd changeup second time through.
Yeah, and this is the pitchability I think Dave Roberts and the Dodgers now want to see. You know, as he transitions from dominating at the AAA level to now being able to run through these good major league lineups more than just once or twice, and he's showing that command and pitchability with all his pitches.
Now the fastball sent in the air to left center field and run down by Peterson, 2 down. Let's go now to our greater coverage of baseball play of the game, brought to you by T-Mobile.
This is the difference, the 2 pitches. Julio Urias attacking the zone with his fastball. All of his pitches and strikeouts have been in and around the zone. Jake Peavy, he is paint, using the cutter out of the zone, being able to kind of just fine line on that black part of the plate, and this is what is his money. And you think about Jake Peavy, what he used to be was closer to Julio Urias, and what you're seeing with the fastball attacking inside the zone. But Peavy now has evolved as he's gotten older. A very different pitcher, and we got 2 very very different game plans from these 2 guys.
Ground ball out to second off the bat of Peavy, and that's the inning. 3 up and 3 down for the Giants. We're at the end of 5, and there is still no score. Our weekly installment of Boondoggle. Aaron Boone imitates a past or present Major League player, and Aaron's going to be a pitcher this week, the Bulldog. And that's my favorite part. That's absolutely my favorite part. Of course, Oral worked with us for years. Oral, if you're watching, we hope you're laughing as you're doing this. Aaron put a lot of work into this week. So you got the walk. You nailed it. Well done.
Perfect. Perfect. It's the mannerisms, the facial expressions. Done.
Who you got next week?
I think we have a battle between, Pops, Willie Stargell, and our own Rick Sutcliffe.
Oh,
this is strong.
Come on.
Yeah.
I want to see Sut. I like the pitchers.
Yep.
His impersonations. I want you to see you do me and Dan. That'll be our finale at the end of the season.
Chase Utley leads off the 6th inning for the Dodgers. He's 2 for 2 tonight against Peavy. Entered the game 1 for 17 lifetime against him. He's got a couple of base knocks tonight. 2 of the 3 hits the Dodgers had. Jock Peterson has the other. No score in the game. No runs, 3 hits and an error for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits, no errors for the Giants. Each team has left 3. The old vet Jake Peavy and the teenage prodigy in Julio Urias trading zeros here tonight. Check swing foul off, and it's 1-2. Giants also knowing that they're going to get Matt Cain back. He is expected to come off the DL. Another hamstring injury. Hamstring injuries are everywhere right now. He's expected to come off the DL and start here against Milwaukee tomorrow night. Cain had been throwing well before he went on the DL. Top 3, they're pretty comfortable with Bumgarner, Cueto, and Samardzija. Belt feeds Peavy. The race is on, and Peavy wins it. Let's get a look and see if the Dodgers want to have a look at this one.
How about the old man Peavy showing a little athleticism? Looks like it may be the 3rd hit of the night, possibly. Belt does a good job of getting to that short hop.
Wow.
But Peavy lays out. Does he beat Utley to the bag? We'll get a good look at it right here. I think he's safe.
I think he's safe too.
Great effort.
Yep.
An emphatic call out there by John Hirschbeck, but one that will likely be overturned. Speaking of emphatic calls, I'd like to wish the great Dutch Rennert, an umpire, happy 88th birthday today. Wow. What an effort.
Call on the field is out, but I do think that there's enough to overturn that the foot might have gotten down just before the glove did. The crowd doesn't think so, but they're Giants.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Man.
Tip of that glove.
The tip of the glove might have got there.
And if it's that close, I mean, you have to
safe
give it to Jake Peavy. And they do. No, they don't.
No, safe.
So the call overturned. 3rd hit of the night for Utley, despite the effort by Peavy.
More look at it. Man, really close. I think they got the call right. I think that spike definitely just barely beat the glove and the hair from Jake Peavy.
Here's Corey Seager. Shallow center, on comes Span. You know, we've been working hard. We've built up an appetite, and when you think about food here at AT&T Park, I don't know about you guys, I think about the garlic fries.
Yes.
The garlic fries and the cha-cha bowl.
That you can smell, by the way.
Absolutely.
From any point. Are you sharing?
Well, I'm going to wear it, so either you eat it or I wear it. I can't eat that and call a game.
Yes.
But this is legit.
Yeah, it is.
I'm glad we got this up here because there's a 10-year-old Boone back there, and he was fixing to just about clean us out, I think, if we didn't get this food out here.
Yeah, he was starting to snack on all of it because we could smell it. Are you serious right now?
Buster, what do you got? You got any food down there?
No, I don't have any food. It's been pointed out to me by Duke, our wonderful cameraman here. He's like, where's your food?
You don't have to be so bitter about it, Buster.
What choice do I have?
Why didn't we send Buster any food? I don't understand.
Good question.
Because he's working.
That's a really good question.
You want garlic? We'll get them down to you. Garlic fries.
I've heard that before.
Oh, man. Sorry, Buster.
I'm a little disappointed. Buster's already got the jacket on. He's always, talking about how he loves the cold weather.
Vermont tough.
Yeah. I haven't even busted out the jacket yet.
Buster can help us, though, because if we're eating and we can't talk, he could probably carry the game.
Buster, you want to do a little play-by-play for the next half inning?
That would be a mistake.
I'll see you in a couple, Dan.
These are so good.
I love that you guys don't care, too, because this is a lot of garlic.
No. As long as we're all doing it.
Who said I didn't care?
Shove in.
I haven't dove in yet.
Dan and I are.
Scooch over here.
A beat LA chant. Now making its way around AT&T Park. And a little bullpen activity right now for the Giants under Strickland and Josh Osich. If you've been watching Giants games recently, you've seen a lot of relievers. Bruce Bochy used 8 of them. In last night's game, used 5 in the 7th inning. And it wasn't like it was a big inning. When the 5th pitcher came in, no runs had scored at that point. Bases loaded, 2 outs, and then reliever walked in a run, so a run eventually scored. But he's trying to mix and match as best he can just to get through those innings between the starter and the closer.
And at 86 pitches now, Bruce knows that he can't push it too much with Jake Peavy. As good as he's been tonight, he knows he's nearing that point where he's got to think about making a change, and that's why you've got the double barrel action now in the Giants' pen.
To right field, Blanco to catch, fires back to first, but wide. Backed up by Posey. Utley will stay at first. Got a text from Mr. Hershiser.
Oh, no.
He said the walk off the mound was bang on, but the leg kick needed to be a little bit higher.
Of course. Well, pitching mechanics.
Well, I got to say, Orioles, I'm 43 years old. That leg kick doesn't go as high as it used to. I think he could relate.
That's it. Yeah. Nailed the walk. He pitched until he was about 43 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go on a limb and say even in your 20s could your leg get that high? I mean, come on, your pitching mechanics.
Fair point.
2 down, and here's Adrian Gonzalez. 0 for 2 on a pop-up and a strikeout. Well-located fastball in on his hands, fouled back 0-1. Now you were telling me, Aaron, you watched a lot of video of Orioles getting ready for this, and it wasn't like late career Cleveland, LA. It was early career LA. And you came up to me, you said, man, he was nasty. I mean, you knew, but to see it again.
Yeah, I mean, what I always envision Orioles is that great sinking fastball. He was throwing gas in that World Series, and some breaking balls he broke off to Dave Parker. Woo.
He had a decent 88 season.
Yeah.
Decent postseason. Gonzalez didn't like that call. It's 0-2. Terrific performance so far by Jake Peavy. Can he get Gonzalez and end the inning? He does. Leadoff base hit, but nothing more. Jake Peavy at the top of his game right now. Pumped up, 6 shutout innings in the books. ESPN presented by Taco Bell. Welcome back to AT&T Park. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning, another installment of Sunday from the Seats. We're up above the right field scoreboard here in San Francisco. No score in this game. Jake Peavy's been great. Julio Urias has been great. Top of the order for the Giants: Span, Panic, and Belt. The sun just about ready to set behind the stands. You can see we're still in sunlight out here above the right field scoreboard.
I'm gonna have to use my glove to
have
block the sun.
If the ball comes out this way, we got issues.
Just close your eyes
and hope for the best.
That's right.
Sounds like my Little League career. Okay, career's a little strong. Urias at 80 pitches right now as he works into the 6th inning. This is the best start that he's had, 4th major league start. Has mixed his pitches, has thrown strikes, got a lot of swings and misses early with a fastball. Casey Fiend is up right now in the Dodger pen. Rubber match of a 3-game series, couple of 1-run games. Dodgers winning Friday, Giants last night. And there is another strikeout, number 7. The best seats at every ballpark for every game. Visit MLB.com/tickets today. The Coke bottle slide, one of the more famous landmarks here in this ballpark, and that's one of our cameramen, Brian McIntyre, affectionately known as B-Mac. And let me tell you something about B-Mac. He's bigger than that guy. B-Mac's a big man. He's 6'8", 6'9". I don't know how he got himself in that slide. Good job by you, B-Mac. There's a base hit into right center field for Joe Panic.
Well, after finishing off Denard Span with a fastball perhaps up and out of the zone, Urias tries to go first pitch fastball at the top of the zone with Panic. Nice short swing, able to punch that into center field. Get a base runner here for the Giants.
That'll get Brandon Belt to the plate. He has struck out in both at-bats tonight. Hitting .295 on the season. Another one of the many left-handed at-bats in the Giants lineup. Boy, that's a nasty curveball, and Belt was fooled.
And that was a little bit of a different curveball than we've seen when he's just tried to flip it in there. That was definitely something that had more depth and a location.
Smothered by Ellis, and the runner holds his ground. You would think this could be last batter with Posey and Duffy, a couple of right-handed batters due up after Belt. And Dave Roberts may go to the bullpen for the right-hander. There's been a good night's work for Urias. Belt lifts a high fly ball to deep right center. It's gone.
The adjustment that Brandon Belt just made is why he's become a really good hitter. A breaking ball, the prior pitch that really made him look bad and fool. He adjusted. This time he gets a slider that stayed down and in the middle of the plate and did not miss it, and hits a huge home run for the Giants to break a scoreless game. It's a slider down. Belt keeps that bat in the hitting zone for such a long time. Perhaps even a little out in front, but because he keeps the barrel in the zone so long, so far through out in front, he's able to lose that to right center. A huge hit for the Giants first baseman.
Back here in San Francisco, where a Brandon Belt home run has given the Giants a 2-0 lead. A terrific performance by Julio Urias. A base hit and a homer to the last two batters he faced, but he goes 5 1/3, the deepest he's gone into a game. Strikes out 7. A big step forward for him in his 4th major league start. To Posey. Posey has struck out and flied out tonight. Bruce Bochy telling us before the game he sees a big difference in the way that Posey's swinging the bat now as opposed to before he missed a few days. He didn't play for 5 days, only 3 games because they had a couple of off days, but he was bothered by a nerve irritation in his right thumb. And Bruce Bochy says he notices quite a difference since he came back. Casey Fiend in out of the Dodger bullpen.
The biggest difference was really just him staying through the ball, and that right thumb, he was just kind of getting to contact, was so hesitant because of that nerve damage.
See a look at that cut fastball from Casey Fiend, who's done a really nice job for the Dodgers. The bullpen, which really struggled in the month of April, improved a little bit but still struggled in May, has been much better in the month of June, and he's been a part of that mix. Fastball low mid 90s, but a real good cut fastball that he throws a lot, and he's thrown a lot here just off the plate. And there's a look at that Dodger bullpen, which was a problem early on in the season. It's really settled in despite Kenley Jansen, who's been outstanding all season long, blowing a save in last night's game. He was the one constant, but now the setup core starting to get a little bit better. Still feels like the Dodgers at some point will be in the, as we look at Pedro Baez there, in the mix for a reliever at the trade deadline. Both these teams you would think would be active in the trade market come the deadline to try and bolster their respective bullpens.
Santiago Casilla has struggled lately. He had a good inning last night, but has been scored upon in 3 of his last 5 outings. But he is still the closer for the Giants as Posey pops one in the air to right field, and below us Trace Thompson is there to make the catch. 2 down. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Lowe's and Midas. For brakes, tires, oil, everything, trust the Midas touch. The sun has now dipped behind the stands, behind home plate, and it has cooled off in a hurry.
You're going to see the bats, or at least better swings than we saw earlier in the game because of the shadows, which was definitely a huge part of why this game was 0-0 through the first 5.
Duffy lifts a fly ball into shallow left field, and Kendrick on to make the catch to end the inning. But the Giants strike. Brandon Belt with a 2-run home run, his 8th of the season at the end of 6. The Giants have the lead. This week in the Major League calendar, we've got the Cubs and Nationals for you tomorrow night, and the Orioles and the Red Sox Wednesday night. That game on ESPN2. And 1 week from tonight, we'll be in the seats again at Wrigley Field as the Cubs host the Pirates. Some of the bigger stories from around baseball. How about Michael Fulmer, the young pitcher for the Tigers? Another good outing today. He has extended his scoreless inning streak to 28 1/3. The Tigers beat the Yankees today 4-1. Fulmer's now 7-1. All Xander Bogaerts did this weekend was go 10 for 15. But the Red Sox did not win today because Max Kepler hit his first Major League home run, and it was a game winner in the 10th inning as the Twins beat the Red Sox 7-4.
Tigers hanging in there in that Central, led by Fulmer, kind of. Verlander's throwing well.
Hunter Strickland is on in relief for the Giants after 6 shutout innings from Jake Peavy. If Peavy gets a win tonight, it'll be career win number 150.
Strickland with that big fastball, mid-upper 90s at times. Slider, occasional changeup. At times he loses a little bit of command in the strike zone with that fastball. Hitters will do some damage on, but when he's in control of his mechanics It is a power fastball slider combination that can blow away hitters, especially righties. Sometimes right there, he kind of over rotates a little bit. You see it every now and then happen with Craig Kimbrell. Even the times when he struggles, he just gets so much torque and rotation with that upper body that sometimes he'll lose his command and his location. That ball flatten out over the plate. And when he's dialed in, it's a pretty nice fastball slider combo.
Just low, 2-2. Breaking ball down and away, 3-2. Now the count on Thompson leading off the 7th. The Dodgers down 2-0 to the Giants. Dodgers on their way to Arizona tonight to start a 3-game series tomorrow. The Giants stay home and open up a series with Milwaukee. Jock Peterson waiting on deck. Yanked to left field and caught by Williamson for out number 1. Which will take us to tonight's pitching summary, brought to you by Ramada.
Well, as you said, a big step forward tonight for Julio Urias. Was outstanding. Over 5 1/3 innings, the 7 strikeouts, just the 1 walk. The command was good. All 4 pitches were effective for him. But Jake Peavy in line to possibly win his 150th game of his fine career. Another strong outing for him after what was a very difficult start to the season. His first several starts. He's starting to give some stability now to the back end of that rotation for the Giants, which was a problem for them the first 6-8 weeks of the season.
Jock Peterson takes a strike.
And with news of Matt Cain getting set to return. He pitches tomorrow, doesn't he?
Yes.
Matt Cain?
Yep.
And he was throwing the ball well again before he went on the disabled list, so.
Peterson drills one over our heads and way out of here. There was no doubt about that one.
Dan? Aren't you supposed to?
Oh, yeah.
Get out there.
Well, that guy's already got the ball. Otherwise, I would.
Well, no secret that Jock Peterson has as much power as any. And there it is, Jess. That fastball that they want to get to the corner just kind of flattens out over the heart of the plate.
Especially when he gets it up in the zone. I mean, his swing is geared towards fastball, inner half, especially belt and above. No doubt about it. Watching him take BP all weekend. I think he put out about 20 balls from BP out on that water. He knows exactly where he was aiming for.
So it's 2-1 here in the 7th inning. Number 9 on the season for Peterson, who's got a couple of hits tonight. Here's Howie Kendrick.
That ball was pummeled.
Well, that's Peterson. I mean, he's not going to get cheated, and that's why you see the big misses sometimes from him. He doesn't have anything but that swing.
So Belt homers in the bottom of the 6th, give the Giants a 2-0 lead. And Peterson cuts the Dodger deficit in half here in the top of the 7th. Kendrick with a 1-hopper out to Panic at second. 2 down.
Let's take a look at that explosive swing from Peterson. And the biggest thing for him, watch that high leg kick, but watch the explosive backside lower half. I mean, you see that front foot start to turn. Watch his entire rotation as he comes through this ball. Meets bat, but how explosive when you look at the waist down and him staying upright. That's the key for him. Him being able to get into that middle part of his body without coming over the top. It is a swing you will see on repeat, whether it's a miss or a home run.
Two down in the inning. And Osich is back up in the pen again for the Giants. A.J. Ellis is the batter. The pitcher spot is due up next. Well located slider on the outside corner with the knees, and it's 1-1 on Ellis. Yasmani Grandal is out in the on deck circle to bat in the pitcher spot.
Grandal, a switch hitter, and the one potential left-handed bat the Dodgers have off the bench tonight. Hernandez, Barnes, and Van Slyke from the right side. So not sure Osich is necessarily getting ready for Grandal, or if it's Utley Seager in that 1-2 slot.
Ellis pops one up out of play off to the right. Well, we have a moment. Wanted to send out our best wishes to Terry Collins, the Mets manager. The Mets were in Milwaukee today, and he was feeling ill before the game. And the last report we saw before the game, he was hospitalized and is going to remain overnight for observation in Milwaukee. The Mets have flown on to their next destination. But Terry, sending you the best, hoping it's something minor, and you're back with the team very, very soon. Two. Blanco in right. Inning over. But the Dodgers are on the board. A long, loud home run into McCovey Cove off the bat of Jock Peterson has cut the Giants lead in half. 7th inning stretch. Giants 2, Dodgers 1. Series this has been between the Dodgers and the Giants. The Dodgers winning 3-2 Friday night. The Giants winning 5-4 in extra innings last night. And another one-run game, at least to the moment here tonight, with the Giants leading 2-1 as we go to the bottom of the seventh. Terrific performance by Jake Peavy, and Julio Urias was great until the last two batters he faced, single and a home run, but by far the best performance he's had in his 4 in the big leagues. The Beat LA chant, you can hear it again here at AT&T Park. Brandon Crawford leads off the seventh for the Giants. Casey Fiend back to the mound for the Dodgers.
Something tells you those 9 games in the final 6-7 weeks of the season between these two teams going to mean a lot.
Even what Brandon Crawford talked about, that when he was a fan, it was, I mean, it was a pure hatred. Even as a player, it maybe isn't as deep, but you can feel it. I mean, we're in the crowd, we're amongst the fans, but it's something even growing up in LA, it's deep, especially with the crowd and how they feel about their team.
Crawford with a well-hit ball into right center field. Close to Triple's alley. He's rounding second. He's thinking 3, and he is in there standing up.
Well, we talked about the cut fastball from Fiend, and the pitch before this ball made Crawford look bad. This time he's able to get the barrel to it, and Trace Thompson, perhaps not a perfect route out there in right center, doesn't cut this ball off as well as he probably could have, and as a result, Crawford able to get into third base with ease to open this home half of the seventh for the Giants.
And now a fly ball to right field off the bat of Williamson. Thompson the catch, and it is not deep enough. What a throw. What a throw from Trace Thompson to the plate on the fly, and Crawford wisely did not try to score.
How's that arm?
Yeah,
Jess?
from our vantage point too. I mean, we're in his back pocket.
Trace Thompson, a center fielder by trade, and a very good center fielder. Now, obviously, with the Dodgers playing a lot more on the corners, and talking to Dave Roberts before the game, at this point, he's okay out there in the corners, but the ceiling and what they think he will become if he has to continue to play there regularly is outstanding. And there we saw a good look at what looks like a true right fielder's arms as he uncorked one. No chance for Crawford to test that.
Our vantage point from above the right field scoreboard. What's going on with the Cha-Cha Bowl, guys?
We're still working on it. We've
still working on it?
Pound through some garlic fries, all right?
Big at bat here, Gregor Blanco. Runner at third, 1 out, and the Giants looking to add on to their 1-run lead in the bottom of the seventh. Blanco 0 for 2, 0 for his last 24. And the infield in for the Dodgers. And a broken bat, ground ball back to the pitcher, and Blanco is retired for the second out. And Crawford still stuck at third.
Perfect execution by Fiend there. You knew they were going to go to the cut fastball against the lefty to try and get that weak contact on the ground, or the easy pop-up that he can't get deep enough into the outfield to score that run. And the discipline for the hitter is trying to get you on the plate or out over the plate, knowing that cut fastball is going to work in on the hands, and that just blows up the hands and the bat of Gregor Blanco.
They kind of got the pitching coaches on his way to the mound as Connor Gillespie comes up to pinch hit. Adam Liberatore now up in the Dodgers pen. Play ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation, making opportunities to play available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org. Hey, is it me or has it cooled off a little bit in the last half an hour? Man, it's chilly.
Yeah.
What happened?
This is the Bay Area.
Yeah.
This is a Bay Area evening.
Summer in San Francisco.
June, July, August.
The coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. You want to lay that first time in San Francisco Dan line on me again that you got so much mileage out at the beginning of the night?
He's still patting himself on the back for that one.
Still stinging, huh?
Gillespie pinch hitting, 4 for 21 as a pinch hitter this year. 0 for his last 17, a 167 average overall. Crawford brought the crowd to its feet with a triple to begin the inning, but 2 outs later he's still at third.
Rick Honeycutt's trying to communicate with Josh Bard, the bullpen coach for the Dodgers, that is Liberatore ready if they lose Gillespie with Denard Span from the left side, who they certainly wouldn't pinch hit for. Liberatore would probably be in to face him if he were to lose Gillespie. And now they're going to put him on, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to bring in the lefty to face Span, I think. Probably a double switch, so you'd have Grandal come in possibly for Ellis and then lead off the inning.
So Dave Roberts telling the home plate umpire what the changes are, and Adam Liberatore is making his way into the game. First and third, 2 down, with the Giants looking to add to their lead. Presented by the new $1.49 steak flatbread sandwich at Taco Bell. It's all the steak, none of the sacrifice. And in part by Wells Fargo. Together, we'll go far. The famous edible garden here at AT&T Park. Center field, kale, oregano,
basil,
garlic fries,
rhubarb. I've spent some time in the garden.
Double switch. Kike Hernandez takes over for Howie Kendrick in left. He'll bat in the 9 spot, and Adam Liberatore is the new pitcher.
Liberatore, who's been an outstanding find in that Dodger bullpen. You see the ERA below 1, whip just over 1. Fastball low mid-90s, slider and changeup.
Faces Denard Span. Liberatore has held left-handed batters to a 132 average this year. 5 for 38. Big situation here in the bottom of the 7th. Span 0 for 2 in his career against Liberatore. 0 for 2 with a walk here tonight. Crawford at third and Gillespie at first after the intentional walk. Fastball right on the outside corner, 0-2. Going back out there again. Runner from first goes and is in there without a throw. Stolen base credited to Gillespie, so runners at second and third with 2 down and a 1-2 count on Span. Now with a runner at second, new set of signs. Draws a crowd, and it'll be Ellis into foul territory to make the catch. And the inning is over. A great opportunity goes for naught for the Giants. And our sympathies and thoughts to the families of those who died in Orlando last night, and our best wishes to those who are hopefully recovering from their injuries. You can see the flags at half staff here in San Francisco. A moment of silence observed at this and every other ballpark around baseball earlier today. This tragedy of unspeakable magnitude, and we at ESPN would like to extend our sympathies to everyone affected by the tragedy in Orlando. We go to the 8th inning here at AT&T Park with the Giants leading the Dodgers 2-1. George Cantos comes in from the Giants pen on his birthday, 31st birthday for Cantos. Kike Hernandez leads it off for the Dodgers.
Well, the double switch, bringing in Hernandez, keeps Osich out of the game for at least a batter, but you would figure Cantos just on to probably get one guy with the 2 lefties for the Dodgers due up.
Another swing and a miss, and it's quickly 0-2 on Hernandez. Hernandez, first couple of weeks of the season, got off to a great start, but has fallen on hard times, hitting .207. Was playing a fair bit early in the year when he was swinging a hot bat, not so much lately as he takes down and away.
And it's a bit of a puzzler to me because I feel like he's an impact offensive player the 3 or 4 days a week that the Dodgers want him to be in that lineup, and they choose the matchup. So it's left-handed pitching, certain righties. He can be that real spark, but it's been a tough couple of months for him.
Yes, he did, says Mike Malinsky, the home plate umpire, and that's out number 1. And here comes Bruce Bochy to make the change, bringing back memories of last week's Boondoggle. Josh Osich, the left-hander, coming on to face Utley and Seager. Always one of the highlights on our tour every year is getting a chance to come to San Francisco to see the Dodgers and the Giants go at it here on Sunday Night Baseball at AT&T Park. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. Buster!
Very nice. Okay, I didn't get the garlic fries, but look what I got. Okay, very nice.
It's already like half eaten.
Yeah,
too.
I dug it into it, no question.
I would trade the fries, the bowl for the Ghirardelli.
I'm so glad Buster's happy again. Didn't feel right. Here's Josh Osich now to try to protect a 1-run lead in the 8th inning, facing Chase Utley, who's 3 for 3 tonight. He has 3 of the 5 hits the Dodgers have in the game. Osich, another lefty who is tough on lefties. They're hitting just $152 off him, 7 for 46 on the season. Fastball tails inside for ball 2.
It'll be mid-90s with that fastball. He'll also throw a cutter and a changeup, a pitch that last year helped him be really effective against right-handed hitters, something that Bruce Bochy is hoping that he can get back to, because he feels like he's a guy that can give him some length out of that bullpen against both lefties and righties. This season so far, effective as you touched on against lefties, but has struggled against right-handed hitters. On to face 2 lefties tonight.
Normally the bullpen roles are a little more established right now for the Giants than they are this season. Normally Bochy knows, I'm going to this guy, then that guy, then that guy, and that's how they win games. But there's been a lot of mixing and matching. We mentioned last night's game, he used 8 relievers in a 5-4 10-inning win. He used 5 relievers in 1 inning last night, an inning in which the Giants only gave up 1 run. And a little bit of concern about Santiago Casilla, who figures to work the 9th inning if it's a save situation tonight. He has not been as good as he typically has been. He's been scored upon in 3 of his last 5 appearances. Utley with a fly ball to very shallow center field. Span there. There's Madison Bumgarner. Well, I mean, there's Duke Thorne, our camera guy, but beside him is Madison Bumgarner. Duke, don't smile when we talk about you on TV.
Don't do it. Do it.
And there's Clayton Kershaw. We're going to see these guys, maybe even Duke, at the All-Star game. Vote today, vote tomorrow. Vote for your 2016 All-Stars with the Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot. Vote at MLB.com/vote and catch all the excitement of the 87th MLB All-Star Game. Presented by MasterCard, July 12th, live on Fox. Corey Seager, the batter. And a base hit. Looks like we're going to have another pitching change. With the righty coming up, Justin Turner. And we're going to keep it right here. Buster, if you're finished your ice cream, we've got a pressing question for you. You have been all over. In fact, you have been the originator of the Madison Bumgarner home run derby story. What is the latest on that?
Well, guys, they've actually spent a fair amount of time talking about it today, and some of the elements of this that are in play right now. There's actually been talk about the idea of a pitcher challenge type home run derby, where maybe you'd have Madison Bumgarner facing someone like Noah Syndergaard of the Mets. Generally speaking, the Giants are still open to the idea of Bumgarner participating in the home run derby, but they're concerned about multiple rounds. If Bumgarner's offered the opportunity to be in the home run derby, he would take it. And this conversation was going on today. In the midst of it, Madison Bumgarner looked at Bruce Bochy, the Giants manager, and said, if I win the truck, I'll give it to you. He was trying to entice him to go through with this.
I think Madison's probably got a couple trucks already. But he would love to do it. And I don't know how you guys feel. I don't see any reason why he couldn't do well in it. He's got serious power.
Oh, he absolutely could do well in it. And remember, it sounds like Major League Baseball wants him to be involved in this.
Absolutely.
And if that's the case, and because it's an MLB sponsored event, it would seem that if Madison wants to win this.
Well, Jake Arrieta wants in. Now Adam Wainwright wants in.
Yeah, let's not get carried away with all these pictures.
Bad Bum's that guy. I mean, there's been talk about him even being, you know, a pinch hitter coming in big situations. And when you watch him take batting practice, so home run derby is BP. I mean, this is a guy legitimately, and he's so into it. He's so competitive. He would compete, and he would be the kind of guy that I think could seriously be in the derby for a legitimate reason.
But you would not want to be the hitter matched up against him. Talk about a no-win situation.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here's Corey Guerin, the former Atlanta Brave, has risen to the 8th inning role, this setup role for the Giants. He's on to face Justin Turner. The tying run is at first base with 2 down here in the 8th inning. And already activity again in the Giants pen, with left-hander Javier Lopez now starting to get loose.
Guerin with that low 3/4, a sinking fastball in the low 90s. You'll see a lot of sliders, especially to righties. And as you said, becoming that 8th inning guy now for the Giants. Threw a lot of pitches in yesterday's game. I think he threw 27 in yesterday's game, so wouldn't figure you could go too long with Guerin tonight.
These games always a little bit bigger, though. Managers may push their players a little bit further when the Giants play the Dodgers. Top 2 teams right now in the National League West. Giants 4 up.
Well, now you're in a spot, though. I think Guerin's in there for 1 hitter, and that's he either retires him and hands the ball off in the 9th inning to Casilla, or if he's unable to, you've got Lopez ready to go for Adrian Gonzalez, and he may face Gonzalez to start the 9th anyway, and then hand the ball off to Casilla.
1 ball, 1 strike on Turner. Hit a home run in the 9th inning on a Friday night. Broke a 2-2 tie. Dodgers won the game 3-2. Flags are gusting out towards center field right now here at AT&T Park. Back safely at first somehow is Seager.
Seager's slide, kind of a wet dirt. He didn't get back to the bag, and actually Belt, I think, whiffs on him. He's so surprised that he just puts the tag down and doesn't realize that. I don't know if he catches him on the shoulder beforehand or not, but
Seager just kind of stuck.
Yeah. Seager's looking in at Bochy going, please don't challenge this. Please don't challenge this.
And they're going to.
He's like, gets kind of stuck in the mud there and catches Belt off guard. Doesn't think he's even going to have any kind of chance. I think he gets his fingers back in there ahead of that tag, but it's super close.
The ruling on the field is important, and the ruling is that he got back there safely.
I think it's hard to overturn.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's so, I mean, obviously the ball beats him there, and Belt, if he had been thinking, Seager was so close, so it was more of just a throw, not so much the tag. And then he looked over, and Seager's stuck in the mud.
It's kind of like when you're riding your bike when you're a kid and you hit the brakes a little hard and flip over the handlebars. That's what Seager did right there.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. More childhood memories.
I didn't know that was from his childhood. That was Booney riding his bike around San Francisco yesterday.
Looks like Seager's getting a laugh at his own expense as they're running these replays on the big board here.
And he is safe. Not a popular call here, but it looks like the right call.
Another look at it. Does look like just probably barely ahead of that tag. And Corey Seager, who the pulse never gets too high or low. A little exhale there nonetheless. And that smile's a little easier right now as he gets the safe call.
So Guerin back to work against Turner with a count 1-1. Right down the middle with a breaking ball, strike 2. Again, the beat LA chant. Giants up a run here in the 8th inning. All 3 games in this series have been close. Strike 3 call. Posey and Guerin were moving to the dugout before the call even. Turner didn't like it, but it's ruled right on the corner for strike 3 call to end the inning. The Giants still have the lead, 2-1 going to bottom 8. Look at the last pitch of the last half inning. Corey Guerin freezing Justin Turner with what was called strike 3 called on the outside corner. Turner did not agree, and Turner got tossed for his trouble.
Well, that's why Corey Guerin's been so effective for the Giants this year. You saw that running fastball, that sinking fastball that he starts off the plate and did bring it back to the outside corner. A perfect pitch. Kike Hernandez has now moved into play third with Van Slyke taking over in left field.
To the bottom of the 8th here in San Francisco. 2-1 Giants. Adam Liberatore still on the mound for the Dodgers. And that one got right through A.J. Ellis and hit the home plate umpire Mike Malinsky. Right shoulder, maybe right bicep. Nobody feels worse about it than Ellis. Off the glove and then onto the forearm.
Oh.
Ouch.
It's just a slider that just doesn't really finish. It's a bad slider from Liberatore, and so it doesn't get the break, so it just kind of hangs up there on the inside. And you see A.J. Ellis doesn't handle it, and that's
Well, they continue to tend to Mike Malinsky. Here's our view out in right field. Jess is all bundled up now.
That's cozy.
Aaron brought a coat, but young Brandon is scarfed it away from you, huh?
Yeah.
Where is he? Where's Brandon?
Let's get him in here. He's gone.
Back there.
Say hi, Brandon. Where?
He's hiding.
Look over there. There he is. Pretty good quarterback, I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Football's the sport. He's quiet now, of course. Am I really on TV right now?
He's been down in ice cream and garlic fries for the last couple hours.
Yeah.
What happened to that ice cream, Buster?
It's still right there. Right back there.
Yeah, come down here and get some.
Still working on Mike Malinsky. There's some ice cream.
What?
Yep. How you doing, Buster?
Can you send over those leftover garlic fries?
Brandon's killed him. He's eaten all of them.
What do you think this discussion is about, Aaron? I mean, he's in some discomfort, obviously. Are they maybe discussing him staying but not working the plate or switching? Or?
Is there any chance? I mean, Justin Turner just got thrown out.
Well, obviously it's just a critical time of the game. In a 2-1 game, 8th inning here, and you know you just don't want the arm, which, I mean, obviously he's in a lot of pain, and that smokes him good. But you don't want that to. They want to make sure that, hey, can you still do your job effectively back there? You know, or do you want us to go to a 3-man crew and get somebody? And so that's probably just buying him time to say, all right, no, I'm okay to stay on.
So he is okay back behind the plate. The count 1-0. And the Liberatore pitch misses down and away for ball 2. After panic, it'll be Belt, who homered his last time up, accounting for both Giants runs, and then Buster Posey. Ball 3. And in there with a strike, 3-1. Right-hander Lewis Coleman is up in the Dodger pen, presumably to face Buster Posey a couple of batters from now. Just low for ball 4.
Well, let's take a look at the difference in this game. And back in the 6th inning, Urias wants that slider down and away. It stays in the heart of the plate, and Belt waited back just long enough. We talked about that bat staying in the hitting zone for a long time. He barrels it up, and a big two-run homer for the Giant first baseman.
Ball's a little bit outside for ball 1. 8th home run of the season for Belt. RBIs number 30 and 31. And it's 2-1 Giants, bottom 8. There is no activity in the Giants pen. Corey Guerin got the last out of the 8th inning. Nobody out. Still time to get somebody up. See how the inning develops here in the bottom half. And as Belt lifts a fly ball to left field, Van Slyke over near the line to make the catch, 1 down. And here comes Dave Roberts. So with the Buster Posey due up, that's going to be all for the left-hander Liberatore. Right-hander Lewis Coleman will come into the game to face Posey, and then Duffy should it get that far. 1 on, 1 out, 1-run game, bottom 8 here in San Francisco. Game's all-time greats. 660 career home runs, 5th all-time. 2-time MVP, hit over 300 in his career. Phenomenal outfielder, an all-star in 20 different seasons. And of course, he's all around this place. Willie Mays Plaza. The address of this place is 24 Willie Mays Plaza. The statue out front, his number retired, of course. 24 palm trees. He was incredible. And the Giants, like so many of the older franchises, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Cardinals, the Cubs, and others, they do such a fantastic job bringing their past into the present, remembering their past, celebrating their past. And there's evidence of that all around this ball. Here's Buster Posey. Wouldn't be a shock to see number 28 up there in this ballpark by the time his career is done, or after his career is done. They got room for it to put it right between the 27 of Juan Marichal and the 30 of Orlando Cepeda.
Yeah.
They're running out of room out there, but they'd make room for him.
Reconfigure a little bit.
Yeah. Driven to left field. Van Slyke makes the catch on the track.
We talked about a line drive, how tough it is to read off the bat. Scott Van Slyke, I don't think you could do it any more textbook than on this line drive. Buster Posey does a perfect job of getting square on this pitch up in the zone, but Van Slyke, such a great read jump. He makes it look easy, but he traveled a good amount of space from where he was, and it was an immediate reaction in the right spot.
Matt Duffy, the batter, 1 for 3. And there is activity now in the Giants bullpen down the left field line.
Well, it's Lopez and Casillas, so Lopez definitely looks like he'll start and face Adrian Gonzalez, and then you would think hand it off to Santiago Casilla from there.
Gonzalez to lead off the ninth. Trace Thompson to up second, and then Jock Peterson third for the Dodgers in the ninth inning. Lopez has been doing this job for a long time. And Gonzalez has been facing guys like Lopez for a long time.
Those two guys have squared off a number of times in their career. Gonzalez 4 for 17 career versus Lopez, and right now you see him probably kind of peeking down there, knowing that 18th is coming up.
Duffy sends one to right field, fairly deep, but playable below us on the warning track as Thompson makes the catch, and the inning is over. So we're going to the ninth here in San Francisco. On comes Lopez. Giants up a run. Night here in San Francisco. Stay tuned for Sports Center at night. John Buccigross and John Anderson. A full breakdown from the Penguins winning the Stanley Cup tonight, Euro 2016. A preview of Game 5 tomorrow between the Caps and Warriors, and all the MLB highlights and more. Look at the Bay Bridge linking Oakland and San Francisco. As we go to the 9th inning, Javier Lopez is on, and how about that? Adrian Gonzalez, trying to bunt his way aboard, is retired. Didn't see that one coming.
No, with the shift on, just trying to drop it down third, but does not execute, and you really kind of question it with Adrian being the tying run. You like to see him swinging the bat, your cleanup hitter swinging the bat, but knowing he's got a tough matchup, I guess leading off the inning to, if you execute.
But look what he did in the top of the 10th last night. I mean, he was the go-ahead home run. Of course, the Giants ended up coming back to win it, but that's the bat. That's why he's there. And I'm all for trying to beat a shift. He recognizes, hey, there might be an option, but he takes it down the wrong side if he had it anywhere.
Oh wait, they were taking away the bunt. He's trying to punch this to the second baseman.
It with him, yeah.
Yeah, with the second baseman out in short right field.
Wow.
I mean, it's one thing if that third baseman's off the line, you just, that's tough to execute right there.
Because you got to get it past the pitcher. And
well, it's not something he does. It's not something he's practiced a whole lot.
And when you're the tying run and you're the 4 hitter and you're Adrian Gonzalez.
You know what he does? He hits very well.
Different story. It's a 3-1 game and you're just trying to get on because your run essentially doesn't matter. But man.
So all in a night's work for Javier Lopez. He throws one pitch and heads to the showers. And now Santiago Casilla comes on looking for the last 2 outs. And as we mentioned, he has struggled lately. Just 12 for 16 on the season in save opportunities. And Bruce Bochy's talked a little bit about he had 2 outs, 2 strikes on Jake Lamb, and Lamb homered off him. And a couple other things here and there that could have gone differently, but then in the next breath, Bochy will say, but they've got to be better at the end of the pen, and this guy is the end of the pen for the Giants.
Yeah, because some of the numbers look real good. 25 innings, 32 strikeouts, just 7 walks. You know, the WHIP and the ERA are very solid, but yeah, definitely they expect a little more out of a guy that's been so reliable at the back end for them the last few years.
Trace Thompson with some pop. 10 home runs on the season. He is 0 for 3 tonight. 1 out, the base is empty, and the Giants up a run. A 1-run win for the Dodgers Friday, a 1-run extra inning win for the Giants last night, and a 1-run lead in the 9th inning for the Giants here tonight. As mentioned, they don't meet again until the end of August. They play 3 series against one another between late August and the end of the season, and they finish the season with 3 games right here at AT&T Park. Strike 1. The Giants with an excellent record in 1-run games this year. The Dodgers not so much at 7-11. You can see a pitching for the 3rd game in a row, something you don't see all that often anymore in this new age of baseball. But only asked to get 2 outs, and he just got 1 of them. So they're an out away, but a guy without question who can tie it with one swing of the bat is coming up. And Jock Peterson's already gone deep in this game. Outside, ball 1. A win tonight for the Giants, and they would be 5 games up on the Dodgers atop the National League West. That would be their biggest lead of the season in the division. Behind in the count, 2-0. Goes off speed and he misses inside, ball 3.
And that may give you an idea that they might not even give in to him here on 3-0. But this is a time where I would consider turning Jock Peterson loose.
Spotty Grandal on the on-deck circle.
Pick one side of the plate, sell out on that fastball, and you're looking to do damage.
Borderline strike, 3-1.
I think he was taking all the way, but even if he was swinging, a good decision to lay off that pitch. But the willingness to throw the 2-0 pitch, a breaking ball, at least you have that seed planted in the back of Peterson's mind here on the 3-1 pitch.
Big cut and a foul back, 3-2. Sellout crowd as always, 440th consecutive sellout at AT&T Park, and their Giants are a strike away from victory. Hooked foul down the line. Out in front of the breaking ball. Mr. Posey to the mound for a chat with Casilla. Brandon Belt, a 2-run homer for the Giants in the bottom of the 6th. Jock Peterson, a solo shot for the Dodgers in the top of the 7th. And now it's Peterson in the box right now with 2 outs in the 9th.
See if they try and backdoor that slider. He's laid off pitches away. Maybe they start one away and try and catch that corner.
A ground ball. Crawford. Giants win it. A save for Casilla. Another 1-run win for the Giants. And they take 2 out of 3 in this series from the Dodgers and open up a 5-game lead atop the National League West. The final score here at AT&T Park, the Giants 2 and the Dodgers 1. For Aaron Boone, Jessica Mendoza, Buster Olney, and our entire ESPN Sunday night crew, I'm Dan Shulman saying so long from San Francisco. SportsCenter is next.